talk about Idle, but let's talk about Angry Birds.
Angry Birds.
Yeah, talk to me about Angry Birds. It's your new obsession.
It's not really. It's a fun game on the iPhone that we've all kind of. You start playing, you can't stop. It's just one of those games. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to kill time when you're driving around on the bus and stuff like that. So.
Right. Yeah, well, I was going to say, how do you kill most of the time in between the cities? I know tomorrow night's the last night.
Yeah. Well. Normally we don't actually have a whole lot of time in between cities. Like normally we'll leave a venue at midnight. We'll drive however far the distance is to the next place. We'll spend a couple hours at a hotel, maybe get a couple extra hours of sleep, and then we go straight to the venue and start doing the press, stuff like that, and start getting all that done. So there normally isn't a whole lot of downtime.
Well, I know when you do the show, that's well documented as far as like zero time.
Oh, yeah.
Is this as crazy out on the road?
I wouldn't say it's a different kind of crazy. Okay. I mean, it's because you're moving around constantly. You're not like back on the show. It was very regimented. It was like the exact same thing every week, pretty much. You're always back in the same room, in the same apartment, with the same people. And so here it's different because you're in a different hotel each place. You're in a different venue each place. It's just you're doing press some days you're not. And so it's a very different setup. But it kind of feels the same. You just have to figure out a pace for yourself and figure out how to kind of deal with the whole thing and get into a rhythm.
Tomorrow night being the last night of the tour, and we've talked to some of the others about pranks usually happen on the last night of the tour. Do you have anything planned?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say that I have something planned. There might be some ideas, but I mean, obviously I couldn't tip my hat.
You guys are all scheming. Everybody's playing it on real down low.
Well, but that's the thing. With the internet the way it is, if I were to tip my hat to you, everybody would know in about 5 seconds, and then if something did happen,
if something were to happen,
if it did, everybody would know it was me, and that sort of defeats the purpose.
Okay.
So
we'll just look for reports after tomorrow night's show.
I mean, that's a good idea.
What was the absolute best part of your whole Idol experience?
Man, that's a loaded question. Yeah.
I mean, what will you take away? What do you think 20 years from now? What are you going to look back and go, wow?
I'll look back on the initial. There's a couple of things. The initial audition at the Cowboy Stadium, just 10,000 people, and that was nerve-wracking. It was hours of waiting. But one of the biggest things to look back on is that call I got calling me back to be on the show after I got sent home the last day of Hollywood Week. So I'll always remember that just because that's the phone call that changed my life. It really is. And I'll remember exactly where I was for the rest of my life when I got that phone call because that changed everything. And I think the biggest thing, one of the other big things I'll remember is just the fans and the amount of support that they've showed kind of to each and every one of us while we've been out here. And to me in particular, just the fans that have been with me since the very, very start, and the amount of support that they've shown me is really, it's very humbling.
Very cool. Let's do a couple of questions from listeners, okay? All right, Angie wants to know, if you hadn't made it onto the American Idol, or had you not gotten that call back, and what would you be doing back home right now?
Right now, well, I'm not sure because if American Idol hadn't worked out, I'd been throwing around the idea of moving out to LA and kind of make a go of it on my own. I've been talking to some people, and so I was potentially going to be doing that. So I would probably be out in LA somewhere, probably waiting tables at a restaurant, trying to find somebody to believe in me.
Sandy wants to know, how do you all get along on the road?
We get along pretty well. It's kind of one of those situations where it's like a family where you understand that you're not always going to be happy every day, and that certain people are just going to, you wake up and it's a bad day. You didn't get enough sleep the night before, something's going on. So, you just make allowances for that. You realize that it is what it is, and you move on. And so I think we all get along pretty well because we understand each other at this point.
Sonia, what will you buy or have you bought with some of the money you've made from the tour or from the show that you've always wanted to do or have?
Xbox 360.
What's your game? Besides, I know Angry Birds on iPhone, but what's your...
Angry Birds, nice.
Dude, you're the one that brought it up.
Yeah, I did. I did, didn't I? It's funny. my brothers and I, we play Xbox. We had an Xbox for years. Even after the 360 came out, we were always like, man, we got to get a 360. We just never did.
Right.
And so one of the first things I did after I got off the show and I went home for a couple of weeks, and the first things I did is I went and got a 360 and a television to play it on. For me and then my younger brothers, they're the ones who really get to enjoy it because they're home. But I've just kind of always wanted to get one of those.
Cool,
so
you got it.
Yeah.
So now, last night of the tour,
Yep.
tomorrow night, then you go back home, or maybe make the move to LA. What, as far as music's what I'm trying to get at.
Yep, music. Well, first, I'm obviously like everybody else who isn't signed already. I'm trying to get a record deal with somebody. But regardless of what happens with that, I'm already set up to go home and record. I've got a little 6-song EP that I'm going to be recording back home with some guys there. And for me, it's important because on the show, it's kind of hard to show people who you are as an artist, like the reality of it, especially as a songwriter. As a songwriter, I'm sure I know a lot of us are. You can't showcase that on American Idol, and so it's important for me to get some original music out there very quickly, so that I can show record labels and different people that this is me.
Good. Is there a website?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter, Tim Urban Music. There's Facebook, facebook.com/TUrbanAI9. There's MySpace that I'll be posting music on there. It's just myspace.com/TimUrbanMusic, and I'll be updating all those. So,
good luck, man.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, good luck with everything.